Breaking overnight, the Senate narrowly passing a key budget measure for COVID relief. Vice President Kamala Harris becoming the tiebreaker early this morning, ending a 15-hour vote-a-rama.
The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the concurrent resolution as amended is adopted.
The next steps ahead, and when millions of Americans could potentially see $1,400 checks hit their bank account.
A disturbing and violent trend playing out in King County.
There's not as many people around, so you can get away with stuff easier.
The number of sexual assault cases spiking in parts of Seattle. Now investigators are trying to figure out what's behind that alarming surge.
Cruise season already in jeopardy.
It's a struggle every day to keep a door open.
The announcement threatening to cancel the 2021 season and the impact this could have on local jobs.
And new hope on the horizon. Johnson & Johnson applying for emergency use authorization for their new single-dose COVID-19 vaccine.
This could not come at a better time. Now is the time to put the fire out.
The timeline the vaccine is up against and the number of doses the company is already preparing to ship out nationwide. So many people have been waiting on news of Johnson & Johnson. Of course, we do have plenty to get to on your Friday morning. We'll get to those top stories in just a moment.
But first, want to give you a quick check of the forecast with meteorologist Kristen Clark. Happy Friday, Kristen.
Happy Friday, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. The flakes are flying up at the slopes and over our Cascade Passes with the snow this morning. We are tracking rain for the lowlands. And as gray as the sky was yesterday across Puget Sound, we are hopeful for bright spots in our sky with a little bit of sun in the forecast for this afternoon.
It's probably the main distraction for drivers this morning is the rain right now. I'm not seeing any traffic incidents here. The main thing I am keeping track on is in Shoreline on I-5 going southbound. Looks like there's some patrol cars there still blocking the right shoulder lane off of Northeast 145th Street. I'll continue to keep track of backups in this area.
And developing overnight, detectives searching for a rapist after a woman was attacked in South Seattle.
It's a disturbing story. This is part of this surge of sexual assault cases. Officers swarmed the Arrow Motel on East Marginal Way near Boeing Field last night. That's where they found a naked woman holding a gun, but they were unable to find the man that she says attacked her. So far this year, the King County Prosecutor's Office has filed 20 rape cases.
We're seeing a pretty concerning start to the year so far. It's not the trend that we want to see.
In 2020, 187 rape cases were taken to court. That number does not include the last few weeks of December. Still, it is more than in 2019 when 117 cases were filed in King County. Investigators are trying to figure out why rape and other assaults are on the rise. However, they admit it is challenging because each case has its own unique circumstances.
And from King County, Seattle Police crime stats show overall violent crime is down slightly in 2020 compared to 2019, but homicide spiked going from 35 in 2019 to 52 in 2020. That was the highest in more than 2 decades. Aggravated assaults also up in 2020, but the number of rapes dropped by nearly 100 cases.
New numbers in the COVID-19 pandemic. UW researchers are releasing their projections, showing more than 630,000 Americans could die from COVID-19 nationwide by June 1st if nothing changes. To put that into perspective for you, that is more than the populations of Tacoma, Bellevue, Everett, and Kent all combined. Those new projections come as our local economy prepares to take yet another blow due to the pandemic. But hope is in sight. A new vaccine just weeks away from potentially receiving emergency FDA approval. We have live team coverage of all of the angles of the coronavirus outbreak for you. We will get to Theron and Denise in just a moment. But first, want to get over to Holly at the live desk with breaking news out of Capitol Hill. Holly.
That's right, Kelly. While you were sleeping, the Senate passed a budget resolution, the measure passing 51 to 50 on a party line vote after nearly 15 hours of voting on amendments. Vice President Kamala Harris casting her very first tie-breaking vote of what will likely be many. The budget resolution that passed is not the COVID relief bill. It is, though, a key procedural step that sets up Democrats to pass President Biden's sweeping COVID-19 relief package without the threat of a filibuster from Republicans who oppose it. Here is what comes next. Now, the House already passed the budget measure earlier in the week, but because it was amended in the Senate, it will need to go back to the House for a final vote, possibly today. And while millions of Americans could potentially see some relief, Seattle's cruise industry was just dealt another blow. KOMO's Theron Zahn joins us live with those impacts. Theron.
Yeah, you can see behind me, this is the cruise ship terminal where thousands of passengers typically arrive in Seattle. The possible loss of another cruise season could mean the end for some businesses in Seattle that have been just hanging on, hoping for the return of what typically has been boatloads of money. Right now, there's a good chance you won't be seeing a return of the big cruise ships to Seattle again this summer. Canada is banning all cruise vessels in Canadian waters until February 28, 2022. Under current law, cruises leaving Seattle must stop in that country on their way to Alaska. The loss of cruise ships last year cost Seattle $900 million.
It's a struggle every day to keep a door open.
Businesses in Seattle that have relied on cruise cash are already barely hanging on.
I haven't seen so many empty storefronts since 2008 when we were almost completely boarded up.
The cruise ship companies are not ready to give up on this coming season yet. In a statement, Holland America says, in part, while this is beyond our control, we remain committed to operating any portion of our Alaska season, and we're hopeful that positive progress relative to the pandemic accelerates to the point that the Canadian Transport Minister will rescind the interim order. And it isn't just the big cruise ships that are impacted by the ban. Smaller vessels that make those day trips up to Victoria, they also have to stay shut down.
Theron, for every ship of people that leave Seattle, there's some place that they're not going to. So you got to really think about those other towns taking a financial hit.
Yeah, you think about the places up in Alaska, city leaders in places like Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway. They're certainly reeling from this news because they barely got through last year's season, and now to find out that another season where almost half of their economy could be erased.
That's live just now. I am tracking breaking news. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released the January jobs report just about 30 minutes ago. Here's a look at one of the graphs associated with that report. The U.S. adding 49,000 jobs last month. It is a rebound from December when 227,000 jobs were lost, but still a sign that the pandemic is hindering job growth. I've been digging into this report over the last 30 minutes. Here's what I found. In January, jobs were added in professional and business services and in both public and private education. Those gains helped offset the additional losses we saw in leisure and hospitality, retail trade, healthcare, and in transportation. The unemployment rate now at 6.3%, down from 6.7%.
Time is now 6:06, and a new major development in the race to vaccinate Americans. A third vaccine candidate now asking the FDA for emergency use authorization. Komal Whitaker is live to show us what's next. And Denise, this could be a game changer.
It really could. The FDA is now on track to review a third vaccine, this one from Johnson & Johnson and Janssen Biotech. This vaccine candidate, very promising for several reasons. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is easier to handle than current vaccines. It can be stored at regular refrigerator temperatures. It requires one shot only instead of two. And get this, in clinical trials, this vaccine proved to be 100% effective at preventing hospitalization and death.
I look at that 100% and say you're not going to end up on a ventilator. You know, you're not going to lose your lives to this virus. That's what we're really looking for.
The J&J Janssen vaccine conducted its phase 3 trials in 8 different countries across 3 continents. Researchers saying they included a rather diverse and broad population in those trials. Now that Johnson & Johnson asked the FDA for emergency use authorization, the date is set February 26th for outside experts to review the data. It could then likely be available sometime in March. Johnson & Johnson says it has doses ready to ship immediately, and they expect to ship 100 million doses using the current supply chain in the U.S. by the end of June.
And Denise, the study is showing that it is 100% effective against death. That's a really high number.
Yes, there are other numbers floating out there, so it's important to know the difference. Because they tested this vaccine across 8 countries, the data is different for each. So overall, this new vaccine is 72% effective here in the U.S. It's 66% effective overall at preventing moderate to severe COVID-19. So then they reach that 100% effectiveness pertaining strictly to just keeping patients out of the hospital and dying. And again, as we just heard from Dr. Jerome, that's the big one.
Well, this morning, Yankee Stadium will open as a mass vaccination site. Let me play a little video for you right here. Leaders hope it will address the high positivity rate in the Bronx and the racial disparities among New Yorkers getting the vaccine. Officials say 15,000 appointments will be available during the first week. New statistics show Black and Latino New Yorkers getting vaccinated at disproportionately low rates. The site will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
It's 6:08 right now. Right now, our state's averaging around 28,000 COVID vaccinations per day. The latest health department numbers show more than 770,000 vaccine doses have been administered statewide. The state health secretary says they are making progress in reaching that goal of 45,000 vaccinations per day.
Okay, let's check in with meteorologist Kristen Clark with the weather quickcast. Yes, it's the return of rain, but at least it's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday, and we're actually hoping for some bright spots in our gloomy sky by this afternoon. For most areas, the exception could be Central Sound. We could be stuck underneath the clouds for a little bit longer throughout the course of today, and we do have lingering showers in the form of rain for the southwest interior. Very, very light, but the heaviest rain is confined mainly to the foothills of King and Snohomish County, with some lighter showers anywhere from the Renton area through Seattle, Bellevue, Sammamish, traveling north on I-5 into Everett, and as far north as Conway there in Skagit County early this morning. But the last bit of drops of rain is moving east of I-5 here momentarily. The steadiest rain near Sultan, Duval, Carnation, into the Issaquah area, and the blue is indicating the snow, which is falling up at our mountain passes this morning. It's heavy snow and gusty winds, too, really reducing the visibility at Stevens and also White Pass. White Pass is currently requiring traction tires. They are advised along Interstate 90 at Snoqualmie as well as at Stevens. And we've had the gusty winds for the lowlands, too. SeaTac has reported a wind gust of 38 miles per hour. We've had gusts near the Admiralty Inlet as high as like 48 miles per hour. But a big void of the showers. You notice in Central South Sound, we can thank that Olympic rain shadow for that this morning with relatively dry conditions. And there are those showers, very, very light, still gracing Grays Harbor County and also Pacific County this morning. But most of us will see a few hours of sun here today, the exception being Central Sound, maybe a few lingering drizzle spots this afternoon and evening. Saturday, though, we're back to gusty rain showers and a cloudy start to the weekend. Maybe some bright spots on Sunday, but can't rule out some lingering light showers on Super Bowl Sunday with a high of 46.
Yeah, happy Friday, everyone, and it is fairly happy on the roads. Not a lot of traffic right now. The only major hotspot I'm seeing is in our usual spot, 167 near Puyallup and Sumner. Those northbound lanes certainly packed up, but the I-5 near Tacoma, looking good. No incidents to report on. The north, yeah, like Kristen said, lots of rain. You can see the I-5 corridor here passing through Roanoke Street. Super wet. Make sure you are driving safe and using those windshield wipers. The incident in Shoreline that I mentioned earlier is now cleared, thankfully, all the way up to Snohomish County in and out of there. Looking clear as well. No collisions to report on. I do have an overnight closure happening, though. The SR 99 tunnel will be closed in both directions starting tonight at 10 p.m. up until the morning at 6 a.m. They're doing some monthly maintenance and some testing just to make sure it's all safe.
Time now is 6:11, using dogs to detect COVID-19. New data revealing just how accurate they really are and how it works. A harrowing rescue all caught on camera. Dozens of people stranded in the middle of Lake Michigan. Huge chunks of ice breaking offshore, traveling more than 1,000 feet in rough water. Why rescuers say these people got lucky. And artwork from last year's infamous Chop Zone in Seattle, now at the center of a new controversy. The dispute pitting artists against each other. That's next.